Hi guys, and welcome back to story time. Yesterday we read chapter 6. So today we're going to move on and we're going to read chapter 7. Just a quick reminder of what happened last time we read. Zam, the Sugar Spam Princess, and Ginger all went to find the Runcible Spoon. The spoon led them to the sewers where they met a badger, and the badger has kindly helped them and told them where they can find the rats. And then the chapter ended with Zam and his crew listening and hearing the rats shouting and saying that they were gonna burn the Runcible Spoon. So that's where the chapter ended. So let's start with chapter 6. So chapter 6 is called King Rat and the Grand Duchess. Zam crept towards the corner of the sewer and peered round it. He saw a large chamber full of other sewer openings, and next to them stone balconies packed to bursting with expensively clothed rats. Below, on a raised platform in the middle of a large pool, was a rusty-looking iron brazier around which a group of strange characters was gathered. Zam didn't like the look of them, but the rats obviously did, because their eyes were all fixed on the group, their pink rat noses twitching and their whiskers quivering with excitement. There were 3 very fat cats wearing wide-brimmed hats. Each had a sword slung from a shoulder and wore finely made boots with shiny buckles on their hind paws. Next to the cats was a group of out-of-towners, perhaps from the Great Wood, thought Zam, because their clothes were all in different shades of green, from bright lime to deep dark oak leaf. They wore helmets with horns and visors with feathery pom-poms, and were armed to the teeth with clubs and heavy swords. In the midst of the group was their leader, who appeared to be a girl with golden hair styled into elaborate curls. On the other side of the brazier, which was piled high with broken chair legs and splintered floorboards, stood 2 tall tin men. Each one had glowing eyes that shone in the gloom of the chamber, and gleaming metal chests with glass panels in them, through which Zam could see cogs and springs moving like the insides of a clock. Both tin men held enormous axes in their metallic hands, and on their shoulders perched 2 copper-coloured beetles with eyes that glowed as brightly as their own. These are the characters. In the very centre of the platform, in front of the brazier, was a large rat with sleek fur and a black velvet waistcoat embroidered with silver thread. Lurking next to him were 3 others who Zam recognised from the shop: Walters, Rufus, and greasy-furred Erix. Erix was clutching the Runcible Spoon with both hands, while the other 2 held up large matches ready to strike them on the stone and burst them into flame. Down with tree magic, the rats crowding the balcony screeched as Erix held up the Runcible Spoon for all to see. Burn the spoon! The large rat took the Runcible Spoon and turned it over in his paws before looking at the rest of the strange group. Welcome to all who are united against magic, he began, with a respectful bow to the Tin Men and the out-of-towners. Along with our friends from the Tin Man Timber Company and the Society of Giant Slayers, not to mention our associates in the Feline Footwear Foundation. The rat waved a disdainful hand at the fat cats who bristled slightly. The League of Rats has done its utmost to rid our beloved land of Thrine of dangerous magical objects that threaten life as we know it. The large rat raised the Runcible Spoon, and the others squealed, "Down with tree magic!" even more loudly. He went on, "After all, ever since we ditched the Pied Piper, we've danced on our own tune. It gives me, King Tiberius, great pleasure to commit this despicable object to the flames." "Burn the spoon!" the rats chorused as Waters and Rufus struck the matches and lit the firewood in the brazier. Just as the wood started to catch, an enormous ginger shape launched itself from the top of the sewer above and landed with a crunch on top of the Tin Men. With one blow of his enormous arm, Ginger swept the squealing fat cats off the platform and into the pool. With another blow, he did the same to the giant slayers and the 3 rats beside King Tiberius. "That's ours," said a sweet, lilting voice, and a sugar-spun hand grabbed the Runcible Spoon from the paw of the astonished King Rat, whilst the rats in the balcony squealed in outrage. Ginger turned, and he and the princess leaped back up into the sewer tunnel above where Zam was waiting for them. King Tiberius adjusted his waistcoat as 2 angry beetles with glowing eyes buzzed above the crushed metal of the Tin Men, and bedraggled cats and giant slayers dragged themselves, coughing and spluttering, from the sewer water. The King Rat reached down and grasped Erix by the greasy scruff of his neck and lifted him high out of the water and held him dripping at arm's length. "Tell me again," he said with icy fury, "which bakery you stole the wretched spoon from." The next morning, Zam was lined up on the parade ground in front of the palace of the Grand Duchess of the young Grand Duchess of Troutwine, alongside head baker Balthazar Bobab and the other apprentice bakers. They were ready to start work. "Bakery number 9, you're in the calico tent," the lady-in-waiting said. "Wash tubs, scrubbing brushes and dish soap are provided, but you'll have to fetch your own washing up water from the kitchen. We're far too busy." Not for the first time that morning, Zam looked nervously over his shoulder. He could feel the Runcible Spoon nestled safely out of sight under his shirt. After the events of the previous day, Zam had spent a lot of time looking over his shoulder. As soon as they had emerged from the sewers, Zam had smuggled Ginger and the princess back into the bakery, and not knowing what else to do, he'd hidden them beneath flour sacks in the cellar pantry. The League of Rats was obviously nervous of the monster that had attacked them in the sewer, but they were determined to destroy the Runcible Spoon, and Zam knew it was only a matter of time before they made their move. All evening, rats had peered in through the window of the shop, and the scritch-scratch of claws had been heard in the country yard at the back. If bakery number 9 could just make it through the tea-ball, Zam would come up with a plan. "Washing up! I hate washing up!" muttered Langdale, stamping his hooves petulantly beside Zam. "Bakery number 9 to the calico tent," Balthazar ordered. On the lawns around the parade ground, the other bakeries of Troutwine were setting up the trays of delicious cakes and pastries on long tables in front of tents of striped silk with velvet bunting. The apprentices of bakery number 12 smirked as Zam and the others trooped past their tables of golden bows, full of deliciously sweet, fluffy, floating islands in silky smooth custard. "Bakery number 6 is saving all its crumbs for you lot to sweep up," one of them sneered. When Zam and the others reached the drab tent next door to the palace kitchens, they found a row of wooden buckets waiting for them. "At least they've been filled," said Langdale approvingly. Whatever that high-up lady said. "Everybody stand by," said Balthazar. "When the tea-ball starts, there'll be plenty of crockery coming in. Shellac sisters on scrubbing brushes, gnome boys on drying, and you two," Balthazar nodded to Zam and Langdale, "on bucket duty. We'll need plenty of refills when we get underway." He smiled. "Come on, bakery number 9. I know it's just washing up, but make me proud." Just then, there was a fanfare of trumpets, followed by the sound of 20 harps being delicately plucked. Carriages pulled by beautifully groomed horses began to pull up beside the palace gardens. Soon, from the lawns in the distance, came the sound of polite chatter and laughter, and the clink of forks on fine china. "Start collecting plates," Balthazar ordered Zam and Langdale. They picked up trays stacked with dirty plates and headed off towards their washing-up station, past the backs of the brightly coloured tents. Zam peered between them and caught a glimpse of the Grand Duchess herself sitting on a high-backed garden chair, nibbling some fondant triangles. "Let's go on with it," said Langdale. "Let's get on with it," said Langdale gloomily, as yet another stack of used plates was shoved through the flap at the back of their tent. Zam picked up the plates, but quickly realised something was wrong. They appeared to be glued together. Just then there was a shriek, and then another, as most of the table guests on the dance floor slipped and fell over. There was a crash, and Zam glimpsed through the gap in the tents several of the tables collapse as their legs snapped in two. Next he smelt smoke. Flames were licking in the silk tent next to him. Smoke was rising from the two others. "Water buckets!" Balthazar Bobab's voice rose above the hubbub. "Now!" Zam and Langdale ran back towards the calico tent, only to see Balthazar and the rest of the apprentices in number 9 coming the other way, buckets of washing up water in hand. As Zam watched, Balthazar and the others surrounded the smouldering tents and threw the water over them. But instead of putting out the fire, they made it worse. There was a sudden whooshing sound as the tents burst into flames. In moments, all the tents were ablaze and the ball-goers were running across the lawns and up into the safety of the palace. The shocked head bakers of the other trout wine bakeries turned towards Balthazar and his apprentices as the tent burned amid the wreckage of upturned tables and cake trays. The other apprentice bakers stepped aside as the palace guard in white tunics and tall helmets marched down the palace steps. The captain of the guard reached forward and knocked Balthazar Bobab's hat from his head, and 2 guards seized him by the arms. "Head baker of bakery number 9, you're under arrest on the orders of the Grand Duchess of Troutwine." Outside the calico tent, Zam stared open-mouthed. Looking down, he saw one of the remaining water buckets. The water had a glassy, oily film on its surface. "That's right," said Erix, slinking out from behind the tent flap. "That isn't washing up water," he sniggered as he drew out a long, sharp needle and stepped towards Zam. "Now give me the spoon." Out of nowhere, an expertly aimed hoof knocked the rat off his feet, buying Zam precious seconds. Langdale's voice sounded in his ear. Run, Zam, run!" And that is the end of the chapter. Okay, so quite action-packed this chapter. A lot has happened. Bakery number 9 is now in trouble because they've been blamed for the fire or for making the fire worse. And then I can't wait to see what chapter 7 will be all about. So hopefully we will be able to find out tomorrow or the day after. Until then, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and I hope you're all safe. Bye now.